Hey, how's it going? It's been a while since I've vlogged or really posted much of anything on this channel, and there's a lot of reasons for that. There's a lot of factors that have gone into that, and we'll talk about that stuff, but right now, I feel like all of that, the weird feelings I've been having, just the way that I've been feeling kind of down, I feel like all of that is behind me, and I'm ready to get back to work. Because the Benz is back. Yes! The old girl is back, and I don't think I've ever missed something more in my life. I am so happy to be driving this thing again. Now, for just a little update, for those of you that don't know, back in January, after 3 miserably cold days, and I'm talking like, feels like negative 15-degree weather days, like it was horrible, miserable, disgusting, cold. After those 3 days, I went outside to try to start my car, and nothing happened. It wouldn't start. And I tried a couple times, and my first thought was, you know, it's just still too cold. It's been out here for 3 days in this below zero cold. It's old, whatever, I'll leave it for a little while longer, try the next day. So I tried the next day and nothing. Didn't even try to crank, it just went just nothing. So after, you know, looking some stuff up and doing some research, talking to my dad, talking to some other people, it kind of seemed like it was the battery, which makes perfect sense because the battery that was in this car when I bought it, I would assume is probably like 5 or 6 years old. Like you could just tell it was an old battery. And that makes perfect sense, that the cold on those 3 days in a car this old and a battery that old, that the cold weather would kill the battery. The cold weather like that can have a negative effect on your battery, especially if it's an old battery like the one I had in this car. So I then tried to charge the battery with a little charger I have. We tried to jump start it, and just nothing was working. So at that point, we had to take the battery out of the car, pulled it out, brought it down to the auto parts store to get it tested because the little charger that I have, if you have a little battery charger, it doesn't actually tell you everything that's going on with your battery. So we took it down to the auto parts store, had it tested, and the battery tested bad. It was a bad battery. It was done. It was dead. There was literally no juice left in it, no life left to it. And that was kind of like a moment of relief. It was kind of like, oh, all right, it's the battery. We figured it out. So I bought a brand new battery. I was all stoked up. We brought it back home, put it in the car, and nothing happened. Now, all of this that I'm telling you is probably over the course of like a month and a half, almost 2 months. So at this point, with the brand new battery not doing anything for the car, that's when I started to get stressed out. That's when I started to get pissed off and bummed out and was just like, what the hell is going on? And I honestly got to a point a couple times where I was just like, get rid of it. I don't want it anymore. I don't want to deal with it. But I'm glad that I didn't act on those feelings because I love this car. So it was kind of back to the drawing board. We kind of had to test a bunch of stuff, figure out what the actual problem was. And with the combined knowledge of me and my dad, we kind of withered it down to it being possibly the starter, because the starter was not engaging at all. It was clicking, but it wasn't engaging. It wasn't turning to actually try to start the engine. So that's when we started to think it might be the starter, and then it was a whole different project. So what our next step was gonna be was to pull the starter out of the car and get that tested, because that's possible too, to see if the starter was bad, see if that's the problem, or see if we have to move on to something else. Here's the thing, the starter in this car, not only are the bolts to take it off physically impossible to get to, but Mercedes-Benz must have had Thor himself working for them back in 1984, because they literally don't come off. They are on there so freaking tight. There was just no way that me and my dad could get them off with the tools we had, and honestly, the strength we have. So at this point, it was time for us to admit that we weren't gonna be able to figure this out ourselves, and I was gonna have to take it somewhere, luckily, my girlfriend Danielle has someone in her family with a garage who I knew would take care of me and I knew would give a shit about this car. So we took it up there, we loaded it up on a trailer, which was an interesting task in and of itself, but brought it up there and said, you know, dude, I'm pretty sure, I'm like 95% sure it's the starter, but honestly, it could be anything. So just kind of figure it out for me, because at that point, I was so over sitting in my driveway day after day trying to figure out what was wrong with this thing. It was just pissing me off and draining my being. So I was just done with it. But it did end up being the starter. I don't know what killed it, whether it was the cold or the cold plus the dead battery, but the starter was dead. Now I have a new starter, and she is back. So it's the next day, just because in that last clip there, when I was talking, I was literally about to piss myself, so I had to run home and take care of that, and then I had to go help a family member move a couch, so I didn't end up filming anything else. But regardless, the Benz is back, the old girl is back, and I feel really good about that, and I honestly just feel really good about making a video again. You know, like I said at the beginning of this video, it's been a little while since I made anything, and there's been a lot of reasons for that. And I think that this whole situation with my car definitely was the start of this weird month that I've had, this off month that I've had. You know, being out in the driveway day after day after day, trying to figure out what the hell was wrong with this thing, and it just kind of sent me into a downward spiral. Like I said before, there was many moments where I thought about getting rid of the car, and I kind of gave up on it a little bit. That was just kind of the beginning of it. There was a little bit of mental health stuff going on in there too, and I won't dive deep into that, but what I will say real quick before I end this video is, if you feel like you need to take a break, take a break. Whether it's a couple days, a couple weeks, a month, whatever it's gotta be, take the break, because your mental health is important, and it should always take priority over how many videos you post this month. Remember that. And I think that's gonna be it. So, yeah. I'll see you soon. Make something.